The end of Luke Skywalker's journey as a Jedi was not one that came abruptly. His tenure as Jedi Grandmaster and Hero of the Galaxy lasted well into old age. Luke spent his entire life going on adventures to save the galaxy time and time again, and because of that, he was exceptionally concerned about it upon his retirement, or worse, upon his death. In one of Luke Skywalker's final struggles, he faced the horrific entity known as Abeloth, and during that crisis the Galactic Alliance itself threatened to tear apart due to the Imperials and the government attempting to gain control of the Jedi Order. They nearly almost succeeded in spreading a vast anti-Jedi rhetoric to the whole public at large. Upon seeing how the galaxy reacted to this, Luke crafted his holocron and finally gave one big warning to both his Jedi and the public at large before the Grandmaster retired. And today, we are going to be opening Luke Skywalker's Jedi holocron, listening to that very message. So welcome to the archives, my friends, and let us begin. Here are the final words recorded by Luke Skywalker. There are some wars that only a Jedi can fight. After Darth Caedus' defeat, we mediated the appointment of Natasi Dalla as Chief of State of the Galactic Alliance, and Jagged fell as Regent of the Imperial Remnant. Whatever their flaws, and Dalla had many, they were the right leaders to oversee the long process of reuniting the galaxy. 2 years later, I have chose to respect Dalla's commitment to peace and justice, and have chosen to exile myself. I thought the Force wanted me to discover Jacen Solo's fate, and to show that the Jedi could act without my leadership. Instead though, I have discovered threats that only a Jedi can oppose. The first threat was a lost tribe of the Sith from the forgotten world of Kesh. They were building a powerful war fleet, one made more powerful by the dark strength of every warrior serving in their armada. Yet, there was an even greater opponent, the mysterious entity known as Abeloth. Such enemies are the Jedi's business. I have seen what happens when beings attempt to fight them without the Force as their ally. Only a Jedi, answering always as to the Force's will, were able to pierce the shroud of Abeloth's will and push back the darkness. When Dorvan, the Chief of State, had much to contend with, but for me, the lessons of the struggles on Coruscant and in the Maw are clear. The challenges we face and the mysteries we must explore are bound up with the Force, not Mandalorians or Moffs. Abeloth is an entity from a much older order than the Sith. We must understand her origins and the nature of the ones my father encountered long ago, but by doing so, perhaps we will find a way to destroy her, or perhaps we will learn that the will of the Force calls us to keep her at bay, or to acknowledge her role in the galaxy and to forge a new order, and we must learn the truth about this latest incarnation of the Sith. Who is the Dark Man that came to my aid against Abeloth? What has become of Vestera Kai and Ship? And what is the meaning of Jacen's vision? The answers will not be found on Coruscant, or emerge from service of the Galactic Alliance. To find them, we must withdraw from Coruscant, to distance ourselves from the galaxy. I said at the beginning of this entry that there are some wars that only a Jedi can fight, and that is true. But it's also true that only the Jedi can restore balance to the Force, and to do so, we must dedicate ourselves completely to the light. Okay, so a lot is said here by Luke, and we're going to break it all down, starting with the main idea behind the speech. Luke Skywalker's point was exactly what he said to bookend the beginning of the passage. There are some wars that only the Jedi can fight. In his long life, Luke Skywalker has seen the Force has very heavy hand in the motions of the galaxy. Many threats arrive to tamper with those motions, to use the Force to destroy or to dominate. These enemies can only be fought by those who have the Force as their ally and can listen to its will. But not only this, it is the Jedi's business to maintain peace and balance in the Force. Government, militaries, politics, and bureaucracy has absolutely no place in such a conflict. In fact, none who cannot feel the Force have any place fighting Abeloth. Not only are they ill-equipped to make decisions on behalf of the situation, as they cannot feel the shifting currents of the Force, and therefore be informed of the current course of action, but their lack of sensitivity puts them in great danger. Abeloth was making munch fungus loaf out of every non-Force sensitive that she encountered. Her mere presence could almost melt them if she desired to. Their minds were hopelessly enslaved to her will. She was the most powerful thing that the galaxy had seen in thousands of years. At the end of the Fate of the Jedi series, one of Luke's final actions as Grandmaster of the Order was to organize the search for the Dagger of Mortis. This weapon, the only one of its kind, could slay the Ones, fighting through their immortality as it did the daughter with Anakin. Luke theorized that since Abeloth originated from the ones of Mortis, that this dagger could be the key to destroying her when she returned in the distant future. To this day, it is uncertain whether or not the Jedi Order succeeded in this singular mission, but nevertheless, Luke found it to be one of such importance that he wanted the Jedi Order dedicated fully to it. But not just the search for the dagger, but the uncovering of the mystery of what Abeloth was. As it was said that the only one who can perceive the Force and remain in the light and have any business searching out the mysteries are those that are bound to the currents of the Force. Only the Jedi. Luke believed that the Jedi had been appointed now to hold Abeloth at bay whenever she returned. But with the revelation comes the most shocking decision that Luke executes. For tens of thousands of years, ever since 25,100 BBY, the Jedi Order have been the guardians of peace and justice in the Republic. But Luke makes a historical decision to have the Jedi Order cut ties to the Galactic Alliance, the government body that replaced the New Republic. At that end, he says that the answer to the mysteries will not be found on Coruscant, and they won't emerge so long as the Jedi are in service to the Galactic Alliance. The threat of Abeloth was so huge, and discovering the dagger was of so much importance, that Luke decreed the Jedi Order to distance itself from the government in all of their petty disputes, to break away from what they swore to protect. Imagine Mace Windu's reaction. This is a legendary decision. It seems to go against everything the Jedi Order stood for. But this was not true. This was Luke returning the Jedi to their ancient roots, keeping the balance of the Force rather than the balance of government. This government had turned against them time and time again. First with Order 66, and then the Galactic Empire. Then again with Natasi Dalla, when she spread the anti-Jedi rhetoric and put the Jedi Temple on Coruscant under direct siege. This goes to show just how easily the Imperial Remnant and the Galactic Alliance were able to twist the script on how the public viewed and perceived the Jedi. It is because of this that Luke saw the Jedi were killing themselves to serve a public that would turn on them at the drop of a hat. He couldn't in good conscience subject the Jedi Order to another purge while they were out searching for the Dagger of Mortis, or trying to discover the origin of Abeloth. Their mission now was beyond any Republic. And with this, Luke withdrew his Jedi from Coruscant and brought them back to their ancestral homeworld of Ossus. This brings the history of the Jedi full circle. It was on Ossus where the Jedi promised to defend the Republic, and it was there when Luke severed that agreement. And it was this severance that would remain for 100 years into the future. Now, this isn't to say that the Jedi just kept to themselves and stopped helping the galaxy at large. Quite the opposite, actually. The Jedi aided the Galactic Alliance by mediating peace deals, reversing the damage done by the Yuzhong Vong. However, the Jedi ceased to take on any governmental roles and were no longer bound to the Senate or their approval for anything. This came at the cost of having marshal-like authority in the galaxy though, a changing of the guard. Jedi technically didn't have the ability to act on behalf of the law. However, the Galactic Alliance overlooked this little tidbit because they wanted to get as much help from the Jedi as possible, especially since the Jedi Order's job was now so much bigger, and they were no longer directly bound to serving the Republic. And 137 years after the Battle of Yavin, things were very similar to how they used to be. The Jedi still remained largely secluded on Ossus, and were even protected by the new Empire under Roan Fel. It's difficult to imagine any kind of Republic without any Jedi jurisdiction, and I can imagine that Luke's choice was incredibly controversial. However, it was one that was ultimately wise when you consider that the threat of Abeloth wasn't just for the galaxy, but for the entire universe. The Jedi had to devote themselves to the light. Luke needed them to become more powerful than ever, and this couldn't happen if they were distracted by the ongoings of the Galactic Alliance. Luke's final warning to the Jedi Order was that the Jedi needed to dedicate themselves to studying the mysteries of the Force, to uncover them so that they could protect the galaxy, to save it from Abeloth and the Sith. His warning to the galaxy was to stay out of this, to stay away from this Jedi task. But also, if there was ever any threat that arose on the horizon with which the Force was necessary, that it was the Jedi's business to take care of it, and that the government needed to respect that at all cost. For all of Luke's questions, specifically regarding the Dark Man that helped him against Abeloth, we actually have the answer. What he speaks of is a strange event where a Sith actually arrived to back up Luke during his battle with the entity Abeloth. This Sith man was Darth Krayt, who emerged from the shadows to ensure that the galaxy would not be destroyed before he could rule it. He believed that the Jedi were ineffectual to keep the galaxy safe, but he did respect Luke Skywalker, so he helped him. As for the other two questions regarding the Kai ship and the vision of Jacen Solo, we won't go into that in today's holocron, as they deserve full entries of their own. But with that, the final word and warning of Luke Skywalker, the one that he issued not only to his Jedi, but to the entire galaxy. Tell us, what did you think about what he had to say? It may feel a little authoritative and condescending to hear Luke say that non-Force sensitives need to stay in their own lane, but he speaks from pure experience. He's seen what horrors happen to those who have no defense in the realm of the Force. Distancing the Jedi was for the protection of everyone. But do you feel that this was a wise choice? And was this impact the one that you thought that Luke Skywalker's final words would be to the galaxy? As always, thank you so much for joining us in the archives today. Let us know if you want more holocrons expounding upon any of the information in this video. And until next time, may the Force be with you and have an amazing day.